After 27 years of teaching, guiding, and renting kayaks, I see the same mistakes over and over again by beginners. Today we're going to talk about the 5 most common mistakes that beginners make so that you can hopefully avoid them yourself. The first mistake I see on a regular basis is actually getting in or out of the kayak. When you go to get in a kayak, it's important that you never stand in the kayak with both feet unless you really want to take a dip. Standing in the kayak makes it very tippy, so you always want to make sure you have one foot solidly on shore until you're seated completely down in the kayak, and then you can bring in your other foot. The second most common mistake I see on a regular basis is people, as soon as they sit down in the kayak, they lean back in the seat and take on a reclined position. The problem with that is it may feel comfortable at the time, but when you start paddling, it makes it almost impossible to incorporate your stronger core muscles when you're paddling. You want to be able to rotate around the center of your body, and you can't do that when you're reclined. The third mistake that people make an awful lot when they're learning to kayak is they don't incorporate their foot braces. Your foot braces are extremely important because they allow you to stay upright in your seat without sliding forward and keep a slight bend in your knees, which takes the pressure off of your lower back. Any kayak worth paddling should have foot braces or at least grooves for your feet, so make sure that you use those at all times. Another very common mistake that beginner paddlers make is they hold their paddle shaft with a death grip. Holding the paddle too tightly will do nothing to propel your kayak forward. It'll simply wear your forearms and arms out extremely quickly. If you come back and you feel like you've got blisters forming, then chances are you're holding the paddle too tightly. You should hold the paddle shaft so softly that you don't feel like there's any chance you're going to develop blisters when you're paddling. Another mistake I see on a regular basis is people holding their paddle upside down. Most paddle blades these days are made in what's called an asymmetrical shape. That means there's a long edge and a short edge. The long edge should always be on top and the short edge on the bottom. The asymmetrical shape evens out the pressure between the top and the bottom part of the paddle blade. So if you hold it upside down, it means that you're going to be putting a lot more pressure on the bottom half of the blade, and it's going to want to turn in your hands. The only way to remedy that is to put a death grip on the paddle, and then we're right back to the previous mistake, holding the paddle too tight. So make sure if your paddle feels like it's trying to twist in your hands when you're paddling, look at the paddle blade and make sure you've got the long edge on top and the short edge on the bottom. Avoid these 5 common mistakes, and your next paddling adventure will be a lot more enjoyable. And before you know it, you'll be paddling like a pro.